everyone, Rebecca the Frugal Resinista here, and today I am showing you the beginning of part 4 of my series where I'm doing some smaller 12-inch by 16-inch canvases that I'm then going to present to a client and have her tell me what she likes and what she doesn't like so I can make her a large 3 by 4 foot canvas art piece. Today I am taking my idea from the birch trees here in Michigan. I can show a quick picture of that. Birch trees are absolutely beautiful, and if you ever get a chance to see them in person, I so hope that you do. But they have a lot of white and very, very straight lines. And because I have done so much with curves and lots of mushy lines and things with my other test pieces so far, this is going to be all about some straighter lines. I have already drawn them on with my pencil, and I'm about to go over them with my glue gun. On the edges, only the sides here, I have painter's tape covering. I don't have these edges because I'm going to let the resin and my glue gun even run over these edges, so I'll be adding stones on these edges to match up with the lines they're in and everything. But I do have tape completely covering the back so that those edges that are running over my resin still won't run down onto the bottom of the canvas, so that when I peel it I'll have a clean look. In case you're wondering, I use a popsicle stick and push down really hard all along my tape so that after it's taped down it stays really well and I don't get resin underneath. I also don't fold the tape all the way under to touch things. I let it just come out to the edges so that if resin comes along these spots and kind of pools and drips, all of this is getting peeled off really easily. Today I'm going to start with using my glue gun to go over the lines that I have drawn. I don't have them so straight that I have to be very careful to not mess them up, which is the point. I still don't want this to be a piece that looks absolutely razor straight. I'm not trying to do anything like that in terms of, you know, using a ruler or anything. And also, I'm not trying to actually replicate birch trees, but the other paintings that I've done so far have a lot of blues and dark colors in them. And so with this piece, I want to highlight the blue from the client's home, only using some of the blue stones, and all of my actual resin colors are going to be very neutral. I'm going to use a lot of the white, I'm going to use my khaki, and maybe a little bit of brown, and then they actually just sent me a photo of their kitchen countertop, which has gray flecks and some gold and sparkles, so I'm going to incorporate a little bit of light gray into this piece. But as always, I'm going to start by speeding this up so that you see it real quick, and I will show you all the different pieces of this. I'm going to do a lot of gluing on here. I'm also going to glue all the way down over my edges, so these lines that I'm making come all the way down the side to the bottom. And after I finish all this gluing, we'll move on to the next part, which will be to first start painting all these lines with my enamel paint. I'm done with all of the bits of glue on this, and I'm going to take a moment off camera to peel up all these little glue strands that are all over the place, and then from there we will move on to painting all of these lines. I have started writing in a couple places what colors I plan to do so that when I paint my lines I know exactly what colors are going where. As I've done in the previous videos, I'm going to be using the silver and the gold Testers brand enamel paint. You can watch the other videos for more details on these products, but I am going to go through and paint all these lines in one of those two colors, kind of keeping in mind what other colors I'm going to pour. So you might end up seeing me write a few more little words in here. I don't want to use a ton of glass, but I want the glass to really stand out where I do use it. So you'll notice this one large swath of space is going to be glass, as is this other one that curves around, but I'm probably also going to do a few of these thinner lines with some glass as well, just to see how that turns out. And other than that, again, I'm going to try to pour some very neutral colors. So we will paint this up and then move on to pouring resin. Okay, my painting portion is complete, and I'm going to let this dry for a little bit. The enamel paint takes a little longer than regular paint to dry. And one thing I need to do that I forgot to mention before I start actually pouring anything is on the edges. I'm going to take my glue gun, and in the spots where I know I'm going to have some actual stones, I'm going to glue my stones down on the sides and kind of up around the edge. I'm going to glue this with my glue gun so that when it comes time to actually pour the resin, I don't have to worry about if those are going to stick. I'll still dribble resin onto those pieces, but I don't have to try to figure out how to get those to stick to the side. So we're going to let this dry for a little bit, and then we'll come back and start gluing on stones. My lines have had some time to dry, and I'm now going to start gluing some of my stones onto the edges. I'll show you one edge, but I don't think I can really get the camera angle to show you both edges, because once this edge is on, I'm not going to set it down on top of the glass. So I'll show you how I do one edge, and then we will switch and I'll do the other off camera, and then it'll be time to start pouring. And I will start pouring by using clear in the spaces that I want my stones, just like I did a few videos ago, so that, for example, in this large part, I can pour, I can stick all my stones in, but if they fall all over the place, that's no big deal. I'll let it all cure, and then after it cures, I will brush off the stones and do the rest of the pouring. I have one latex glove on already because I find it easier when I'm gluing with my glue gun and actually picking up stones and sticking them in. I don't burn the tips of my fingers. So I will get started. I don't know if you can tell from the camera angle, so I'll see if I can show you, but these look pretty gigantic sticking up and over the edge here, and they stick up pretty high. That is because honestly, if I was doing this design for real, I would do it on a much larger piece, and that wouldn't look all that huge. Now, because it's on a smaller piece, this is going to look like, whoa, those really stick out past the edge, and they do. And I've already talked to the person that's going to be purchasing the final product, and she knows that. And she knows that also, you know, if she sees a piece like this and she thinks, oh, it looks busy and everything's close together, when I actually do the final product for her, say she chose this one, this 1.5 inch width, you know, would be more like a good 3 or 4 inches because we're working with a much larger canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side just like this, and then once I have that done, we'll start pouring the clear and filling the rest of these sections in with the glass. All of my stones are now glued on, and I'm back using my pour box that I used, I think, way back in the first video. But what I'm going to do, so I don't have the same problem as video 3 with the middle sinking down, when I am at Goodwill or other resale places, I pick up different tiles of different heights. And I've got a stone type tile here and then also a regular ceramic tile. And these two combined is the same interior height as this type of canvas. So I'm just stacking them on top of each other. There is a third one of these metal trays here. And I'm going to stack those on top of each other, stick them right in the middle. And now I've got a good solid piece under there so that everything is nice and even. I'm going to mix my clear Stone Coat countertop resin, and I'm going to pour it just into these spaces where I am doing all of my stones, and then put all the stones on, and then I will dribble some of the clear over these edges to make sure these all get stuck down with actual resin and not just hot glue. So we'll do that part, and then I'm going to let it cure overnight, and then tomorrow I will come and pour the rest of this with all of its nice colors. All right, I have noise above me and noise around me, and the family has just gotten home. And so I'm going to try to make this quick because everybody's making noise and they are excited to be home and talk to me. I accidentally poured too much resin, so I am going to try to add just a tiny bit of color in a few of these so that I don't waste my resin, but the majority of my resin pour is still going to happen at a later date and time. So I'm going to do that real quick with a little bit of my gray, and then from there we will finish the rest of the pour up tomorrow. It's the next day and I'm getting ready to pour my other two colors. I knew I should not have gone ahead with the gray when I did, but I did it anyway because I didn't want to waste resin. Typically, you should always have something else, whether it's a little piece of jewelry or something tiny that you're working on that you could use the extra resin for, just kind of sitting to the side, and I didn't. So I thought, well, I'll do the gray, but too much of it pooled, and I know you could see in the last video where on the edges you could start seeing white canvas through, and I just wasn't really keeping up with keeping the gray on there so that you didn't see white through. So I had to go back and mix more paint to match this color, and I've painted over the resin in these areas so there's not white showing through, and I'm going to have to now pour another clear over the gray. So still was a waste of resin because now I have to use a second layer of it. But typically what you would do is, once you know what colors are going where, paint first, and whether you want to use enough paint to paint the entire line or just enough for the edges doesn't matter. It's kind of up to you. This color was dark enough, it covered everything, but I should have done it first, so now again I'm going to have to do the extra. All of the sections here that have these little lines sticking out are kind of like my birch tree look. I am going to pour white in all of these, and then in the other sections, because I want this to be such a light color, I'm going to use my khaki. But even that, I'm going to do half khaki and half white and let those be the only sections that really lace together and mix around. All that being said, I'm going to do what I should have done with the gray and what I had originally planned to do with the gray, and I'm going to paint over the edges right on these spots. White on white canvas obviously is not quite as big of a deal, but I don't want you to be able to see the canvas design through if I get a really thin portion of white. So in these sections, I obviously can't plan exactly where the colors are going to go, but what I'm going to try to do is, if the khaki and the white that are going to mix together are next to a white, which they all are except for this one, I'm going to pour the khaki along the side, touching the white, and then the other white right along here, and then let them mix. This is going to get a little tricky because these sections actually fill up really fast. The glue is not that high off of the canvas, so I need to pour really carefully and pour really little bits and then push them to the edges and then pour more. I don't want to pour too much and have it go everywhere. I'd rather pour too little and have to work with pushing it to where it goes. So I'm going to paint the edges everywhere real quick, and then we will move on to the last color pour before I finally do a clear coat over everything once it's all done. My resin has cured and it is now the next day and everything's all set for me to finish this up. I am actually not planning to pour a top coat on this piece because all of my other pieces, I've done a top coat and made everything really smooth. And so for the client that the final piece is going to go to, I want this one to have some different textures on it. The glue lines here that I've painted kept things where they were supposed to be, which is really good, but they're barely above the actual other resin. And I feel like if I pour a top coat, I'm gonna lose all that. And other than the stones, everything will be solid and smooth. I'm about to use some Posca pens in silver and gold on this piece. I have a white Posca pen handy as well, but I'm not sure if I'm going to need that or not. I'm just going to do a few little fun lines and designs, some gold to mix into these sections, and then adding a few more lines in this direction on these white sections. And I will sign this and then it should be about done. Oh, except that I do need to finish my edges. I'll show you those real quick. I peeled the tape, and for the most part it came off great. These little blue sections you see, I did take my straight razor and shaved them down, so even though it looks like there's tape on there, it's pretty level with the rest of this, so now I can paint over it. I was actually really happy with how well all my tape came off. So I will paint those off camera. I'll show you real quick what I have. It's that same Testors enamel paint and brush, and I'll paint that off camera, but I'm gonna draw these lines and then we should be pretty much finished with this piece. The lines that will be on here are really pretty and shimmery, but they won't be as shiny as the resin itself, so that'll be another way to give this a little more depth since I'm trying not to have a smooth look. I'll speed this up and I will paint the edges off camera and then I will show you the finished product. I wasn't going to bother with showing you how I'm painting the edges, but it's a little trickier than I anticipated, and so I just wanted to show you my technique for it. I have these little miniature brushes, and pardon me, I'm holding the camera and trying to do this at the same time. These brushes are Testors brand, just like the actual acrylic paint there, and so see if I can do this one-handed real quick here. What I'm doing is getting just the very tip of my brush wet with the paint, and then I am so carefully going along the top edge right here. And this brush seems to be perfect for it because I'm able to get right under the teeny tiniest little bit of lip that was left after I peeled my tape. So I'm going to do the whole edge like that, and then I'll go back with my larger brush here and just fill in the bottom half on each side. I'm so excited about this piece. I didn't know what to expect, and I feel like it turned out really cool, so I can't wait to show you the finished product once these edges are done. Thank you everyone so much for watching this video. I am really excited with how this one turned out. It's totally different than videos I've done in the past and art I've done in the past, and so I wasn't sure what it was going to look like, but I really like this one, and I have no idea what my client's going to pick for the final design they want, but I might put this one in my own living room because it's really neat. So If you are still here, sticking it through to the end, thank you so very much for watching. It means a lot to me that you support me in that way. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel so that you get more videos like this. And have a wonderful day. Bye.